Hey, what's up, everybody? So coming to you today with another 2020 year-end top 10. Today we're going to be discussing the 175-pound light heavyweight division. Again, if they go back a year and a half now, I gave them an extra half year because of COVID to remain in the top 10. So if they haven't fought from July 1st to December 31st, if they fought before that and they don't have their next fight scheduled, then they drop out. If they do have their next fight scheduled, they stay in. If they fought in that time frame, they're still in, unless they got knocked out for other reasons like losses or other guys just did better. So I'm talking about inactivity though. But we only had one guy drop out of the top 10 here at light heavyweight from last year, and that is 33-year-old former WBC champion and I believe Olympic silver medalist Alexander Vodcik, the Nail is what he was called. He entered the year number 5. He came off the loss in 2019 to Arthur Beterbiev in that unification bout. It was the first loss of his career. And, there was talks about him coming back, and he just decided that he didn't want to come back. He decided to retire. He has other business opportunities according to, from what I read, and he just optioned to retire and walk away from the sport. So a little disappointed because I liked Vodcik. I liked him a lot. Talented, very good fighter, good friends with Lomachenko and Alexander Usyk. So, they all come from the same Olympics, and I was pretty surprised by that. But, it is what it is, and he drops out. He's the only one to drop out of light heavyweight. So, we now have a two-way tie for 10th now this year, and the first of the two-way tie goes to Lyndon Arthur from the United Kingdom. He's an undefeated fighter. He entered the year not ranked. He's 29 years old. He actually came in and he got a win over a little-known fighter, unanimous decision, named Dex Spellman at the end of July. But then in early December, he got a huge opportunity against against former world title challenger Anthony Yarde, who just 16 months prior almost shocked Sergey Kovalev and became a world champion. So heading into this fight, a lot of people, myself included, thought Anthony Yarde was just going to get another guy out of there and move forward back towards a world title. And Lyndon Arthur just outboxed. He didn't throw a lot of power punches, but he just outboxed Kovalev for 12 rounds and scored a one-sided decision. Oh, well, not a one-sided. He ended up getting a split decision because, Yarde did have his moments with power shots and everything, but this guy just weathered the storm of that and continued to box and outwork them and got a split decision. So that, to me, was worthy of a top 10 spot for Lyndon Arthur. So he makes his debut in it now. His highest ranking, he's actually number 6 in the IBF and the WBO. So we'll see if he gets the opportunity to move up some more spots. But a nice win there against Yarde. Tying him for 10th is former 2-time world title challenger Jesse Hart. Now, Jesse Hart last year was number 10. He's 31 years old. He entered the year with the opportunity to move back up into the mix, though, and especially into a big-time mix at light heavyweight. And he came in the favorite. He was fighting at home against Joe Smith Jr., and Joe Smith just beat him up, just knocked him around the ring and kind of beat him up. Jesse Hart really wasn't in the fight hardly at all. He just proceeded to get pretty much worked for the entire fight, and then it went to the scorecards, and surprisingly, it was scored a split decision loss for Jesse Hart. So if anybody got the impression that he actually did anything in this fight, they're wrong, because Joe Smith whipped his ass, but they called it a split decision. But he really wasn't in it. He was talking about coming back for the end of the year. He's talking about fighting Michael Seals, who's also coming off a loss, but that never ended up happening. And now we don't know what Jesse Hart's going to do next. He's ranked number 8 by the WBC. That's his best ranking. So we'll see if he can get himself in line for something else. He'll probably just shake off the rust and grind it out, trying to get into title contention by the end of the year, but we'll see. Finishing the year number 9, he actually remains at number 9 from last year as the undefeated former super middleweight champion Gilberto Ramirez. Well, Ramirez came into the year wanting to fight for a world title, wanting to fight Dimitri Bivol, but he had promotional issues with Top Rank, which is why he hadn't fought since April of 2019. And finally, and I think it was September, Top Rank let him out of his contract, and he finished that dispute and is now and was able to, he's basically promoting himself now. And in December, he headlined his own pay-per-view and took on veteran Alfonso Lopez, little-known veteran, somewhat competitive, shook off a rust of, I think it was 20 months off, and he got a 10th round TKO in that one. So Ramirez is the WBC's #1 contender, but I don't think he wants to wait around for that. Ramirez says he wants Dimitri Bivol for the WBA title. We're going to see how real that is. Bivol would be stupid to not take it because Ramirez is a top 10 guy and undefeated, and he's definitely legit. So Bivol's also had trouble finding fights. So I think that fight hopefully takes place. I think Bivol wants to come back and shake off some rust in the next month or two. And then I think maybe during the summer we could see him and Ramirez colliding for the title. If Ramirez waits around for Beterbiev, he might be waiting around towards the end of the year to cash in on his mandatory, but that might be a safer and smarter move instead of facing Bivol, but we'll see what happens. I just want to see Ramirez take that next step and really prove himself at 175 this year. Next at number 8 is former 2-division champion Badou Jack. Well, Jack in May was supposed to be facing off against Jean Pascal in a rematch. They were very close to finalizing it, and then COVID set in and pushed everything back, and then it just never got done. I thought they would fight at some point, but I think Pascal was committed to taking the year off because of COVID. And so, Jack ended up coming back on the Tyson and Roy Jones undercard, taking on little-known Blake McKernan, and got an 8-round decision win in that one. Stayed busy. Jack says he still wants the rematch with Pascal. I think he'll probably get it. I don't think Pascal would be opposed to that at all. So hopefully we see those two guys schedule something very soon. Maybe during Gervonta Davis's next card would be good. And I would love to see the rematch there. So I think Jack would probably be a slight favorite going in. I think it could go either way. But Jack, if he really wants to be a player, he needs to get somebody good in the ring, and Pascal is a good light heavyweight and has a secondary world title, so that might work. We'll see. Finishing the year number 7 is former interim champion and contender Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown did not fight in 2020. In fact, he hasn't fought since August of 2019 when he lost the technical decision to Jean Pascal to lose the interim title, as Pascal put him down 3 times in that fight. Brown, a lot of domestic issues going on with him. I'm hoping he gets that cleared up and he can bounce back in 2021 because he's got the talent and he's very good, but he's got to shake off those personal issues and get his ass back in the ring. He's the number 4 contender in the WBC, but he's letting that waste away. He's 30 years old now. He needs to get in there and make a dent in 2021, possibly get himself the winner. If he shakes off some rust, I think it's very possible he could get the winner of Badou Jack and Jean Pascal in the ring in the second half of the year and could be walking away with a secondary world title heading into 2022. So we'll see. Finishing the year number 6 is regular champion Jean Pascal. He stays number 6 from last year. He's 38 now. He didn't fight at all in 2020. I think the pandemic, it stopped his showdown with Badou Jack, his rematch, from happening because they were very close to finalizing that fight for May on a Showtime card, but the pandemic pushed it back and then it never happened. I think Pascal made the decision to not fight because of the pandemic, and I know Badou Jack still wants that fight. I think Jean Pascal still wants that fight, unless he can land something bigger that we don't know about and a better opportunity. I think a rematch with Jack makes a lot of sense, and I think it's probably going to happen. If it does, I think he probably loses that fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled off the win because he has shown in his old age that this guy can still get it on, he can still fight, and, we'll see what happens. Finishing the year number 5 is former WBO champion Eliter Alvarez. He drops 2 spots for number 3. He's 36 years old now. He entered the year coming off the loss in February 2019 to Kovalev, where he lost the title back to Kovalev. But that was by a decision after he knocked Kovalev out in 2018. So a lot of people were coming into this one. Eliter Alvarez had a really good line at becoming a world champion again. by the end of the year, or at least putting himself in position for that. They put him into the 4-man box off to determine the next WBO champion, the belt that Canelo gave up after he knocked Kovalev out. So Alvarez came back in January, took on little-known veteran Michael Seals, and he KO'd him flat in the 7th round and really let everybody know that he's back, and he's back with a vengeance. So he got put into the 4-man box off. He was supposed to fight Gilberto Ramirez. Ramirez backed out because of his promotional issues going on, and he ended up fighting Joe Smith Jr. in that one. And a lot of people, myself included, thought he was just going to break down Smith since he's a better boxer and he's got equal to or maybe a little less power than Smith, but a lot of people felt he was going to break Smith down, stop him, or get a clean decision and be the clear favorite to become WBO champion again. But Joe Smith went in there and just bullied Eliter Alvarez the entire fight from start to finish. He just bullied him, beat him up, and in the, I believe it was the 9th round, he knocked him through the ropes, and Alvarez was just done. And big time win for Joe Smith. Alvarez took the rest of the year to contemplate retirement. He came back before the end of the year and said he'd like to resume his career. We don't know when that's going to take place, but Alvarez to me is still a very durable and good fighter. But man, I don't know if he was overlooking Joe Smith or what happened, but he really got his ass whipped, and he needs to take this year to bounce back and put himself back into contention by the end of the year. Hopefully a final eliminator of some sorts like that. So we'll see. Finishing the year number 4 is former 3-time champion Sergey Kovalev. Kovalev drops 2 spots from number 2. He's 37 now. He didn't fight at all in 2020. He was supposed to main event a DAZN card in April, but that fight got scratched. The coronavirus scratched that. He was supposed to face Sullivan Barrera. And it didn't happen. So now he will be returning on DAZN on January 30th in the main event of a DAZN card, as he's going to take on Beterbiev Melikuziev, an undefeated 6-0 youngster on the rise. So Kovalev, this is kind of a risky fight, but Kovalev's still got the tools, still got the talent, still got the power, to be competitive. This fight's going to take place a little bit above 175, but I think he needs to be realistic. Remember, he was talking about fighting at like 180 something to move himself up to cruiserweight. There's really not a lot of big fights to make at cruiserweight, so I think Kovalev really needs to make one last run here at light heavyweight and see where he goes after that, because I still think he can compete and he can beat most of the guys out there. But we just got to wait and see what he does. But he's facing this Beterbiev, like I said, what's his name? Melikuziev. He's facing him. I think he's going to beat him at the end of January. I hope he does, and he pushes forward towards something bigger later in the year, because he's still a big name at 175. Finishing the year number 3 is former world title challenger Joe Smith Jr. He was not ranked coming into this year, 31 years old now. He came in and had a showdown with Jesse Hart to kick off the year on January 11th on ESPN, and he came in the underdog in Jesse Hart's backyard of Pennsylvania, and Joe Smith just put it on Jesse Hart for all 10 rounds. He just beat him up, bullied him around in the ring, and ended up scoring a 10-round split decision, which the fight really wasn't that close. It should have been a one-sided unanimous decision, but they scored it a split. But no doubt he won the fight, and that helped him push forward. When Gilberto Ramirez did him a favor by having promotional issues and backing out of the 4-man box off, because Joe Smith got plugged in after his win over Jesse Hart, and he ended up taking on former champion Eliter Alvarez, like we just talked about a couple minutes ago. And Joe Smith just went in there and bullied Alvarez all around the ring from start to finish. Bullied him, beat him up, and knocked him through the ropes in the 9th round and stopped him in that round. And as that was a WBO final eliminator. And now Joe Smith is lined up to compete for the vacant WBO title, his second crack at a world championship. Just a big opportunity right here. He's taking on veteran Maxim Vlasov. That fight's taking place in the main event on February 13th, an ESPN main event. That's a big fight right there for Joe Smith. I think he's going to win it and become a world champion for his first time, and then hopefully set up bigger fights after that. I mean, I don't think Joe Smith's supposed to face Kovalev or anybody. I know he's talked about fighting Dimitri Bivol in a rematch, so we just got to wait and see what happens. But Joe Smith Jr., he was a finalist for, and a candidate for Fighter of the Year following his 2-0 2020, and just a very, very good ending and surprising ending to the year. And Joe Smith's right up there knocking on the door for a world title, so congrats to him. Finishing the year number 2 is the undefeated IBF and WBC unified champion Artur Beterbiev. Beterbiev did not fight. He was scheduled to fight many times. He was supposed to fight his IBF mandatory Meng Fanlong, and a lot of people were talking about a summer showdown to unify belts against Dimitri Bivol. But that all got scratched with coronavirus. Fanlong couldn't fight. They tried to reschedule. Nothing happens. He ended up agreeing to make an optional defense against Adam 10's. But that fight didn't pan out because he tested positive for COVID. And there was just issues all the way through the year. They kept trying to get the card going. They even had it scheduled for January 30th of this year. And he tested positive for corona and had to pull out. So Beterbiev just can't seem to catch any luck right now. He needs to get back in the ring, though. 15-0, 15 knockouts. He's 35 now. So he needs to make a dent somewhere at 175 when he comes back. I think it could be a 3-fight year for him if he has enough time. I think he could go in there and knock out 10's, take on his IBF mandatory and Fanlong, and by the end of the year, we could see him go at it with Joe Smith Jr., Dimitri Bivol to unify belts. Whoever the WBO champion is by that point, which, like I said, it might be Joe Smith Jr. We just got to wait and see what he decides to do. And we know Gilberto Ramirez is WBC #1 contender, but Ramirez might be going in another direction as well. So a lot at stake here for Beterbiev, but he needs to get back in the ring and get active and get at least 2 wins under his belt this year, and to stake his claim back at #1. And now finishing the year #1 is the undefeated WBA super champion Dimitri Bivol. Bivol didn't fight in 2020. Could not get an opponent to get in a ring with him. Again, the guy is just so widely avoided. But he was, I had him last year at #4, and he moves up to #1 this year based on his resume. Joe Smith Jr. coming in and dominating Jesse Hart, dominating Eliter Alvarez, really made Dimitri Bivol's resume skyrocket, because just in March of 2019, Bivol took on Joe Smith Jr., and he whipped his ass all 12 rounds. He dominated him. He almost stopped him in the late rounds. And, Dimitri Bivol, that was a great win at the time, but it didn't put him at the #1 position. But given the fact that Beterbiev hasn't really, outside of Vodcik, hasn't beaten anybody big during his championship reign, and he's been very inactive even prior to this year, Dimitri Bivol is just avoided, and the fact that he could beat the shit out of a guy who's top 3 now in Joe Smith when they fought just a little less than 2 years ago shows you how good that Dimitri Bivol really is. Plus Pascal made a name for himself at the end of 2019, beating Marcus Brown and then beating Badu Jack, and Dimitri Bivol whipped his ass just I think at the end of 2017, 2018. So, this guy really, Dimitri Bivol is very good, and he needs to get recognized, and I'm recognizing him at #1 because overall resume, he's got a better one than Beterbiev. Beterbiev has the overall better win, that unifying belts over Alexander Vodcik, which was huge, don't get me wrong, but Dimitri Bivol overall has beaten better quality competition. He just has. Beating Sullivan Barrera, stopping him, wins over Pascal, wins over Joe Smith Jr., really solidify him, in my opinion, right now as the #1. And hopefully he gets bigger fights this year. Gilberto Ramirez is calling him out. I think if he wants to shake off some rust, then face off Ramirez, that's a good, smart choice. And then later on in the year, maybe he can unify belts with Beterbiev. Maybe he can face Callum Smith, somebody on that level, and really prove and lock down the #1 spot. We just got to wait and see. So, all right, guys. that's the year-end top 10 for the 175-pound light heavyweight division. Hope you guys enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.